Hey everyone, I'm Mind, and it's been a while, but welcome back to another Legacy versus Original comparison video. In today's video, I'll be comparing the two versions of Jay's Electromech that have been released, the original from 2015 and the all-new Legacy remake coming in 2021. The 2021 version doesn't release till March 1st, but it was sent to me early by the LEGO group, so I'm able to do this comparison for you guys here. So let's take a look at these two, see how they're alike and see how they differ, and then decide which one is better. One major difference between these two is this was a full-size set, while this is a 4+ set, so obviously the newer one uses simpler parts, but I'll still try to be like as fair and objective as possible in my comparison. So we'll start with the original Jay's Electromech from 2015. This was released alongside the Tournament of Elements wave, and that's one of my all-time favorite waves of Ninjago. So just like going to get the set off the shelf just filled me with a bunch of nostalgia for that wave. But as a whole, it's a fairly decent little mech. It's definitely a product of its time. It definitely would not hold up this well nowadays. However, for a mech in 2015, it's fairly good. I think this is one of the first mechs to use like these false knees right here. It looks like he has like little knees coming out and then his legs bent back and then his foot's at the bottom, but his knees aren't bent at all. He actually just doesn't have knees. And I'm very mixed on that idea. On the one hand, I do like it, right? It creates a more dynamic shape in the legs and makes it look more animated. But it also just feels a little fake because, as I said, the knees are fake, so the legs just go straight down. So he doesn't have as much posability as a mech that actually has knees. However, you can still move the legs out like this to give him like a wider stance, or out to the sides if you wanted to be like squatting. The arms themselves are pretty great. They don't look amazing. They just use like an old bionicle joint right here, but the amount of poses you can get them in is pretty impressive. You can hold them out and then have the hand forward if you want them to shoot. You can have the entire thing pointing forward. Like, there's just a wide range motion that you have here. Very similar thing with the arm on the other side. Coming around the back, you can see there's a transformation feature of these blades right here. You can have them down at the mech's back like this, and that's how that looks from the front. Or you can push up this bar piece right here and have them out wide. And here's how that transformation looks from the front. Moving up close, the feet are made of very few pieces. There's stickers on both of the feet to give it a little bit of texture, but honestly, I'm not a huge fan of this foot design. It's fallen apart a few times when I've been moving it in this review. Now, I'm not sure if that's a fault of the set or a fault of the fact that I've had this sitting on a shelf for 6 years, so the pieces have become a little loose. But most of these pieces only have one attachment point, right? A lot of modern mechs have things that like wrap around to like hold them in place. So it is not the sturdiest foot design, but I think it's good enough. Moving up to the legs, they're quite bare. Again, I chalk this up to a product of its time. You would never see this on a mech nowadays, but in 2015, this was pretty commonplace. And the fact that it had this whole like knee thing at all was pretty unique for it. It was also only a $15 set, so you can't expect too much detail on a set of that size. Moving up to the cockpit, you can see that Jay is like strapped in. There's these two swords to like keep him in place, and this little printed console piece right here. And if you want to remove Jay, this entire section can come down just like this. There's a better look at that console piece. There's where Jay's attached. You can remove him quite easily. And there's how the cockpit of the vehicle looks without Jay attached. You can see the backs of his legs just attached to those two studs right there. And then you would just fold this little like harness bit back up. I like these two gold rounded pieces on the sides right here. I think these are quite cool. They're both stickered pieces, but they look really good, and I like how they're asymmetric. The right hand's a bit awkward. I like Jay's symbol right here, but the 3 individual fingers just don't really do it for me. 3 fingers just doesn't seem like enough, and it just makes the mech feel very awkward. But again, it's kind of cool that they did include 3 fingers in only a $15 mech of this size, so I'm not going to criticize too much. It's just they don't look great to me. And on the other side, you have another little stickered piece right here. This shows some electricity going up some coils. And then rather than the fingers, it actually has some stud shooters. So you can press down on these guys, shoot them out to attack the enemies. That one didn't shoot very well. And then taking a look at this guy from the back, it is a huge mechanism back here. This looks incredibly ugly, honestly. However, again, this was a very cheap set, and the fact they incorporated this at all was really cool that they had this like entire transformation feature with the wings on the back. You could very easily remove that and it would still be a pretty fine mech, so I don't mind that this is so like bright and protruding because it does give us a cool play feature. However, I would have preferred if the colors were a little bit different because the bright red and the bright yellow just really don't fit in here. But that's about all for the original Jay's Electromech, so let's move on to the all-new Legacy remake. So moving on, here's the all-new 4+ Legacy Jay's Electromech, and this guy is clearly very different. He's got a few elements of the original, right? You can see the blades on the back, though they're going up instead of to the sides or going down. He's got those 2 gold emblems right here, and it's a vehicle for Jay, but other than that, this doesn't resemble the original much at all. And I talked about the original in a very simple build. Well, obviously this has a far simpler build, because it's a 4+ set. It's designed for very young kids to build. However, I think it works pretty well as its own thing. I did do a full review of the set, so I'm not going to go too in-depth here, but in comparing it to the original, I do like this big upper body right here. The original's was good, but this one feels a lot more solid and complete. However, the cockpit here is much worse. There's nothing to hold Jay in. There's not even like a control panel for him. He just stands there in the mech, just out in the open. It looks very awkward. I'm not sure why they didn't put like a little door or something here to like enclose him in. But there is plenty of room for him in there, which I do appreciate. The upper torso of this mech can actually swivel, which is something the original can't do. I also prefer the building system for the legs here. While the original Electromech definitely has more detailed legs, this one uses like the rigid Technic joints, and I feel like these are just a lot better for play because while the ball joints work for like arms and whatnot, whenever they're used in legs, it makes the build very flimsy and easy to topple over. These rigid checking joints are really good for creating like dynamic motion. However, what it gains in the legs, it loses in the feet, because this doesn't have posable feet at all. You can only move the legs. And the feet themselves are very simple, they're just like flat discs. I do like the printed parts up here as well as on the sides of the legs, however all 4 of them are the exact same printed part, while the other one had 2 unique stickered parts up here. So I think the original definitely wins in terms of that design. Instead of a stud shooter, the left arm has a spinning blade. Instead of a hand, the right arm has a sword. These are definitely both way simpler than the arms on the original mech. However, I think they work fine as alternatives. I don't particularly like this gappiness in the arms right here. I'm not sure why that's there. You could just fill that in with bricks very easily and it would look a lot better. But as it stands, it's a bit odd. And then here's this guy from the back. Genuinely kind of a bit prettier from the back, but he doesn't have that whole mechanism. And as I said, I think the mechanism like makes up for the fact that it's not the prettiest from the back. But I think that's about all I got to say for this guy. It's definitely a much different mech, but that's not really a bad thing. So overall, which of these 2 sets do I prefer? I mean, come on guys, obviously it's the original. But I will give the new one credit, it's not that bad. It's one of the better 4+ sets. And while it doesn't do a good job of like recapturing the original Electromech, as a standalone 4+ set, it's pretty alright. I like it as a mech, I just don't necessarily like it as Jay's Electromech. But those are just my thoughts, let me know what you guys think in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, please press like, subscribe if you're new. I do LEGO and Ninjago videos like this almost every day, so if you subscribe, you'll be the first to see them. And if you're watching this on Friday the 19th, I've got something really cool coming tomorrow, so you'll want to stay tuned. But as for this video, I think that's about all I got to say. Thanks for watching everybody, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!